The morning was calm in the downtown financial district. Sunlight bounced off the tall glass towers, making the entire block shine like a mirror. Cars lined up along the curb, and professionals hurried into their offices, carrying briefcases, laptops, and coffee cups. It was an ordinary weekday morning for most people, but not for Nia Carter. Nia was not just another person coming to the bank that day. She was the CEO of a fast-growing health and technology company. Her business had built strong digital tools that were helping hospitals, clinics, and patients manage their care with speed and trust. Investors called her the quiet force of the industry. To her employees, she was a mentor. To her family, she was simply Nia, humble, calm, and always grounded. She stepped out of a sleek black car and walked toward the wide marble steps of the bank's main branch. She carried only a slim leather folder and her phone. Her schedule was tight, but this appointment was important. Today, she was finalizing a $50 million banking relationship that would handle her company's operating funds, vendor payments, and escrow accounts. For the bank, this was one of the largest deals of the quarter. Inside, the air smelled faintly of polished wood and expensive cologne. The main lobby buzzed with the quiet hum of printers, the clack of heels against marble, and soft greetings between clients and staff. Nia headed straight for the reception desk, her confirmation email open on her phone. "Good morning," she said with her usual warmth. "I'm here for my 9 o'clock appointment with the branch manager. Carter Health Systems treasury account." The receptionist glanced down, typed quickly, and nodded. "Yes, Miss Carter, you're checked in. Please have a seat in the VIP lounge. The manager will be right with you." Nia thanked her and walked into the lounge. It was a quiet space with soft chairs, art on the walls, and a coffee station. A large window let in natural light, giving the room an open, calm feel. She sat down, straightened her folder, and waited. Minutes passed. Staff members walked by, glancing in briefly but not stopping. Nia checked her phone. 9:05. She wasn't concerned yet. She knew meetings could run late. She adjusted her watch, crossed her legs, and prepared to wait patiently. Then, at 9:10, the glass door opened, and another client walked in. He was a tall white man in a tailored suit, carrying a briefcase. His shoes clicked against the polished floor. He looked around the lounge and nodded at a staff member who immediately greeted him by name, "Mr. Crane, good morning." The manager, Ethan Morse, appeared almost instantly. He walked quickly toward Philip Crane, smiling widely. "So glad to see you, Mr. Crane. Please, right this way. We've reserved the VIP desk for you." Nia lifted her eyes from her phone, puzzled. She had arrived early, and this was her scheduled slot. She stood and spoke softly, "Excuse me, I believe I have an appointment at 9 as well. My name is Nia Carter. I've been waiting." Ethan turned, glanced at her briefly, then back at Philip. "We'll be with you shortly, ma'am. For now, we need to make space." He nodded to the security guard at the corner of the room. The guard stepped forward politely but firmly. "Ma'am, could I ask you to wait in the main lobby area? This section is for scheduled VIP clients." For a moment, Nia said nothing. She simply looked at her phone again. The email on her screen was clear, appointment confirmed. 9 a.m. VIP lounge. She took a quiet breath, stood up calmly, and said, "I do have confirmation, but I'll wait outside if needed." She walked out to the main lobby, her heels clicking softly, leaving the lounge behind her. A few heads turned. The receptionist looked confused but did not interfere. At the teller desk, a young employee named Maya noticed everything. She had seen the confirmation note earlier that morning, executive client CEO, onboarding meeting. She knew Nia's name was on the high-value list. But Maya was new, and Ethan was her manager. She stayed quiet, though her heart sank. Nia stood by the wide windows in the lobby. She didn't frown, didn't argue, didn't raise her voice. She simply opened her phone again. On the screen, there was a message from her CFO, Jordan Lee, standing transfer ready if onboarding fails. She thought about it. Jordan was disciplined. He had set up a policy weeks ago: if the bank failed to honor service at key stages, they had the right to immediately execute a pre-approved transfer to their competitor bank. It wasn't anger, it was procedure. Respect and reliability were non-negotiable when managing billions in health data and payments. Nia typed two simple words into her phone: proceed. Now. She pressed send. Outside, cars passed slowly on the street. The morning sun reflected off the tall glass buildings, blindingly bright. Inside, the bank staff moved about, unaware of what had just begun. At 9:20, the manager Ethan was still with Philip, shaking hands and smiling. The room looked normal, business as usual. But somewhere deep in the bank's system, an alert had already started to blink. In another part of the city, Jordan Lee received Nia's message. His office was quiet except for the hum of servers and the glow of monitors. He entered his codes, confirmed two-factor security, and clicked execute. Within moments, $50 million shifted through the banking rails, leaving the institution that had just escorted its rightful client out of the VIP lounge. Back in the branch, Nia checked her phone again. A small notification appeared: transfer complete. Treasury moved. She closed her folder calmly, looked around the lobby, and whispered to herself, respect is not optional. She walked toward the doors, ready to leave for her next meeting. As she pushed the glass open, the faint sound of a lobby television caught her ear. A business channel was running breaking news at the bottom of the screen. Carter Health Systems rumored to finalize partnership with a new financial institution. Nia allowed herself the smallest smile. 5 minutes earlier, she had been quietly escorted out. 5 minutes later, the bank had already begun to lose what it thought it controlled. And the morning was only beginning. The elevator doors closed behind Nia as she stepped into the bright morning air. She did not look back at the bank. She didn't need to. The decision had already moved forward like a train leaving the station on time. Her ride-share pulled up to the curb, and she slipped inside, soft leather against her palm, phone warm in her hand. She messaged Jordan a brief thank you, then placed her phone face down and breathed. Her mind was calm. The choice had been made long before today, written into policy, trained into muscle memory, documented in clear steps. Today simply met the condition. Across town, Jordan Lee had already shifted into his quiet storm mode. His office was a tidy square with a large monitor, a whiteboard of cash flow cycles, and a small plant that a teammate had given him when he was promoted. The plant, determined and green, reminded him of Nia's words on his first day as CFO: we do important work. We must grow steady, not fast. Steady becomes strong. He opened the secure portal, entered his credentials, and watched the system confirm his second factor code. The Treasury dashboard showed 3 buckets: operating, escrow, and vendor disbursements. A small banner at the top read: standing instruction, execute on trigger 3 onboarding failure. He clicked review. The plan was elegant in its simplicity. Months earlier, during a late afternoon working session, Nia and Jordan had agreed that respect must be operationalized, not left to hopeful chance. So they built a clear mechanism. If the bank did not honor service at critical moments, account opening, onboarding, or scheduled executive support, then the relationship would be paused and funds would move to a prepared second institution. The rule was not emotional, it was protective. Health payments could not sit in uncertainty. Vendor schedules could not wobble because someone forgot a calendar invite. Patients, clinics, and partners depended on the quiet reliability of their rails. Jordan checked each leg of the transfer. The competitor bank, Evergreen Capital, had been pre-vetted and pre-authorized. Their digital team had already mirrored Carter Health Systems' vendor structure in a staging environment, then cut it into production with a simple switch of tokens. On Jordan's screen, green circles lined up, KYC complete. Limits approved. Escrow frameworks mirrored. Notification preferences set. Same-day wire lanes ready. RTP rails active. Everything was clean. He executed the outgoing wires and the bundle of real-time payments. He watched as the bar gradually filled, 12%, 38%, 76%, 100%. It felt almost peaceful. A small chime confirmed completion. He followed with a message to accounts payable, no action needed, vendor runs will continue as scheduled, now via Evergreen. If anyone reaches out from the previous bank, route them to legal with this ticket number. He then wrote a simple note to Nia, done. All functions healthy. Back inside the bank, the morning kept walking forward, step by step, unaware of the road quietly changing beneath it. The branch manager, Ethan, was guiding Philip to a polished table. He believed he was doing a good job. He believed he was protecting a valuable relationship. He believed he understood the moment. Belief, however, is not the same as checking the system. The appointment board still held Nia's name. The confirmation still sat in the queue. The receptionist's screen still showed, 9:00 a.m. Carter Health Systems Executive Onboarding. Maya, the junior teller, could not shake the feeling in her chest. She pulled up the internal profile again to be sure she was not imagining things. There it was, CEO. Net new relationship, $50 million across 3 product lines. She thought of her training. It had been full of rules: verify identity, confirm appointments, be respectful, follow the queue. The words "follow the queue" stood out like a bright line. She had watched the queue be bent with one wave of the manager's hand. She felt small, and then she felt something else: responsibility. Even if she could not change what had happened, she could document what she saw, just in case someone asked later. Quietly, she typed a time-stamped note, 9:07 a.m. Client Carter in VIP Lounge, 9:10 a.m. escorted to lobby, 9:12 a.m. Mr. Crane seated in VIP. She kept her wording neutral and simple. Facts first. The ride-share turned a corner and stopped at a cozy, sunlit cafe where Nia often held one-on-ones. She ordered a green tea and took a table by the window. Her assistant, Leela, not the reporter, but her internal operations lead, arrived with a tablet. "Everything okay?" she asked softly, reading Nia's face. "Everything is fine," Nia said. "We followed our own policy. It worked as designed." Leela nodded, unsurprised. She admired this about Nia: every value had a process. There were no vague speeches, no loud declarations, just quiet, precise actions that matched words. "Do you want me to cancel the meeting with their regional VP this afternoon?" "Yes," Nia said. "Please send a brief note, condition met." Relationship moved. "We're open to a professional conversation about service standards, but we are now committed to Evergreen for the foreseeable future. Keep it courteous." "Will do." Leela typed quickly, then looked up. "Do you want to alert our vendors?" "Let AP do their usual vendor bulletin," Nia said. "Keep it simple, no action required." Bank rails updated internally. The less drama, the better. At Jordan's office, the Treasury team began their checklist. Erica confirmed that the escrow sub-accounts reconciled at Evergreen. Malik ran a test disbursement to a small supplier to confirm that remittance data reached their portal correctly. A small confirmation pinged back within seconds. Malik grinned with relief. "Clean," he said. Jordan sent a note to compliance: "All movements executed under pre-signed instruction, records attached." He attached the template that legal had built, with space for timestamps, approvals, and screenshots. He added his own final sentence, trigger, onboarding failure, as defined and documented. He knew that if a question came later, clarity would be their friend. In the branch, Ethan sat with Philip and made easy conversation. Philip spoke about a new property deal he was exploring. He had no idea anything unusual was happening just a few steps away. To him, the morning looked normal, a greeting, a seat, a friendly manager. He assumed the bank understood its clients. He assumed the systems worked. He assumed he was simply being served in the order of importance. He did not know that the very idea of importance was where the trouble began. At the front desk, the receptionist glanced at her screen again. She saw Nia's appointment still open. She hesitated, then clicked reschedule. Her mouse hovered. Something inside her said, wait. She stood, walked to the glass door, and peered into the lobby. Nia was gone. The receptionist returned to her seat and stayed still, hands folded. She wasn't sure what to do. She did not want to make a mistake. Maya watched the clock. She thought of her mother, who had taught her a simple phrase, names before faces. It meant to read, to check, to know the facts before you let your eyes make a story. She whispered the phrase to herself, a soft reminder. She wished it was written on a poster somewhere in the branch. She wished it was a rule. By mid-morning, tiny ripples appeared in places few people look. The bank's internal risk system logged a significant outflow event. The log did not yell or blink, it just recorded, like a quiet scribe in the back of a courtroom. Evergreen's social team, following their pre-planned onboarding sequence, posted a single welcome message on their company page, "Welcome, Carter Health Systems." The message did not mention amounts, promises, or drama. It was just a line of text. But people in the local business community noticed. They liked, they shared, they commented with small handshake emojis. The internet rarely needs more than a hint. Jordan's phone buzzed with a message from a friend at an industry forum, saw the post. Smooth move. Congrats. Jordan responded with his usual caution, appreciate you. We follow the work. Then he put the phone down. Praise wasn't the goal. Continuity was the goal. Patients would not notice any difference. That was the victory. At the cafe window, Nia's tea had cooled to a comfortable warmth. She looked at the people on the sidewalk and wondered about their mornings. Everyone had a story. Everyone had a plan. Some plans were quiet, and some were loud. She thought of the security guard at the bank. He had kept his voice neutral. He had not argued with her. He had followed a cue from his manager, as many employees do. She held no anger. But she felt a steady resolve, power should not be held in a few hands who choose by habit. Power should live in clear standards that any person can trust. Leela returned with a small smile. All done, she said. AP notified, Evergreen confirmed. Your noon meeting is still on. Do you want to add a quick call with our legal team to prepare a statement in case someone asks? Draft a short note for our internal team, Nia said. If any reporter calls, we'll keep it simple and factual. No opinions. No adjectives. Just, we moved banks under a pre-existing instruction due to a missed service standard. Our company remains focused on serving patients and partners. On it, Leela said. At that same moment, a television in the bank's lobby scrolled a business ticker along the bottom of the screen. It was a calm stream of words, names, and small arrows, up and down. Then a short, new line crept in, Carter Health Systems' new banking partnership rumored. The receptionist blinked, recognizing the name from the morning's check-in. She looked over at Maya, who had also seen the ticker. Their eyes met for a second. Neither said a word. Minutes later, Jordan received a routine confirmation that the day's first set of vendor payments had cleared through Evergreen. He smiled softly and rolled his chair back. He thought of Nia's steady message earlier, proceed. Now. There was something powerful in 2 words. Something even more powerful in the weeks of planning behind them. The city kept moving. The sun climbed higher. People crossed streets, held doors, signed documents, answered calls. In the bank's conference room, a meeting that should never have been necessary was quietly preparing to happen. But that would come later. For now, the facts were already written in the morning's ledger, a policy had spoken, money had moved, and a quiet team had kept its promises. And somewhere, in a growing corner of the business community, the smallest of whispers began to take shape. Did you see that? They switched fast, clean, no noise. The whisper was not about drama. It was about discipline. By the time the clock touched the next hour, one thing was clear beyond doubt: the world often rewards showmanship, but systems reward clarity. Today, clarity had done its work. The screen in the lobby repeated the line once again, steady as a heartbeat: Carter Health System's new banking partnership rumored. The red alert did not flash like a siren. It appeared quietly, in a corner of a screen inside the bank's risk system: significant outflow event. A thin line of numbers dropped by a shape that looked like a cliff. The system didn't panic. It recorded. Then it routed a message to the regional director, who was already in a morning check-in. Within seconds, the regional director's phone buzzed. He tapped the notification, saw the client name, and felt his stomach tighten. He called the branch manager at once. Ethan picked up with the same cheerful tone he used for most calls. The director did not match it. "Ethan," he said, calm but firm, "did we just lose a new cornerstone client? Carter Health Systems." Ethan blinked and sat straighter. "Lose? Sir, I'm with a client right now." "Which account?" "Carter Health Systems," the director repeated. 50 million. Operating, escrow, vendor lanes. The wires went out 5 minutes ago. Why? The words came slowly to Ethan. He looked toward the VIP lounge where Philip was speaking about a property deal, hands making little circles in the air. The clock on the wall said 9:25. He pressed a finger to his other ear, trying to block the room's noise. "I'm not aware of any issue with Carter Health Systems," he said. "Let me check." "Check now," the director said. "Call me back in 3 minutes." The line clicked. The cheerful feeling in Ethan's chest began to fade. He stood, excused himself from Philip with a polite nod, and walked to the front desk. "Can someone pull the 9 a.m. VIP schedule?" he asked. The receptionist tapped and frowned. "It shows Carter Health Systems at 9, she said. "Status is, still checked in." Maya looked up from her station. She took a careful breath. "I logged a note," she said, voice steady. 9:07, client in VIP. 9:10, escorted to lobby. 9:12, Mr. Crane seated in VIP. She didn't add anything else. Only the simple facts. She slid the screen toward Ethan. For a moment, the room seemed to tilt. He saw the name on the screen: Carter Health Systems Executive Onboarding CEO, Nia Carter. He remembered the calm woman who had spoken softly. He remembered asking security to make space. He had told himself he was creating order. He now felt the shape of the mistake. "Where is she?" he asked, already moving toward the lobby. "Gone," the receptionist said. "She stepped outside a few minutes ago." Ethan reached the glass doors and scanned the sidewalk. The city glowed in late morning light, moving as if nothing unusual had happened. A rideshare turned the corner and pulled away. He guessed it was hers. He felt an urge to run after it, to wave, to call out. But he knew how that would look. He stood still and let the feeling pass. Back across town, Jordan Lee's office remained very quiet. He checked the final confirmations on his screen. Each line read complete. He took a screenshot for the record, attached it to a prepared document, and sent a simple email to the prior bank's relationship inbox and to the regional office. Per service guarantee and standing instruction, Carter Health Systems has moved its accounts. Please refer to attached notice. There is no need to contact operational teams, all vendor and escrow functions continue without interruption. Then he sent Nia a single line, all settled. Evergreen is live. A few desks away, Malik confirmed the vendor run had posted. Erica finished reconciling the escrow sub-accounts. The team moved as if they were following a familiar song. They did not celebrate. They simply checked the next box on the checklist. In the branch, the lobby television carried a slow crawl of business headlines. A new line appeared, Carter Health Systems' new banking partnership rumored. The receptionist's eyes widened. She and Maya shared a quiet look. The bank's computer systems and the television ticker were now telling the same story in two different voices. Ethan dialed the regional director. "I have an update," he said, heat rising in his neck. There was a confirmed 9 a.m. VIP appointment for Carter Health Systems. The CEO was here. I asked her to wait in the lobby while we seated another client. It appears the accounts moved after that. Silence reached across the line like a long hallway. When the director spoke, his words were slow and careful. "Ethan, listen to me. You will gather the facts. You will not guess. You will write exactly what happened in the order it happened. Send it to me in 20 minutes. I'm looping legal and PR." "Yes, sir," Ethan said. He hung up and looked at Maya. "Thank you for your note," he said quietly. Maya nodded once. "I wrote what I saw," she said. "Times and actions." Ethan returned to Philip, who had noticed the manager's changed expression. "Everything all right?" Philip asked. "An internal issue," Ethan said gently. "Please give me a moment shortly. I'll make sure you're taken care of." Philip shrugged politely. He didn't know his presence had become part of a chain of events that would now be studied in meetings and memos. Across the city, a different Leela Ahmed, a local business reporter, was scrolling through her feed when she saw a short, quiet post from Evergreen: "Welcome, Carter Health Systems." No fanfare. No press release link. Just a handshake emoji. Leela leaned closer to the screen, curious. She had a habit of saving posts that look small but smell like a bigger story. Moments later, a message landed in her tips inbox. It included a brief, blur-free clip recorded inside a bank lobby that morning. The clip did not show faces. It showed a timeline on a check-in screen, a VIP lounge door, and a guarded gesture to a person off camera to please wait outside. The sender wrote, "Might matter. Check timestamps. Check the ticker." Leela clicked play, then opened her notebook. She wrote 2 lines, "Carter Health Systems. Bank switch. 5 minutes." She started to verify. She checked the metadata on the clip. She cross-referenced it with the lobby television crawl in the background and with the time a rideshare pulled up outside in a traffic camera shot. The times were close enough to tell a story. Not loud. Just clear. Back at the branch, an email arrived in the general inbox from Treasury Carter Health Systems. It was short and respectful. It cited the service guarantee language and named the trigger: onboarding standard not met. It reminded the bank that a standing instruction had been agreed to: if a core service was not honored at a key moment, funds would move to a prepared alternative. It wished the branch well and provided a contact path for any necessary reconciliations. There were no heavy words. No threats. Just the economy of good process. Ethan read the email twice. He felt the shape of a lesson pressing into him. He didn't reach for excuses. He wrote his report instead. 9:00 appointment for Carter Health Systems, CEO Nia Carter, confirmed on schedule. 9:05 client in VIP lounge. 9:10 I prioritized Mr. Philip Crane, a long-standing client, for the VIP desk. Ask security to move Miss Carter to lobby seating. 9:15 Miss Carter left the branch. 9:20 significant outflow event flagged. He added, I did not check the appointment board before seating the next client. I assumed priority based on familiarity. This was an error. He sent the report to the regional director and to HR, then sat still for a moment. He thought of a phrase his first manager had told him, check the board before you check your gut. He had not followed it today. At headquarters, the regional director had already pulled legal and PR into a video call. The squares popped into place on the screen, a lawyer with careful eyes, a PR lead holding a notebook, a risk officer with the alert dashboard behind him. They reviewed the service guarantee. They reviewed the email from Nia's team. They reviewed Ethan's report. No one raised their voice. They all understood the stakes without anyone saying the number out loud. What's our first step? The PR lead asked. Not a statement yet, the lawyer said. First, contact Miss Carter's office and ask for a conversation. Then draft options. Be ready to acknowledge specifics. Vague words will not help. The PR lead held her pen still. She knew the dance of we regret any misunderstanding. She also knew it would not be enough. The clock on her screen said 10:02. Every minute after a mistake creates its own kind of cost. Leila Ahmed kept checking. She called Evergreen's media line and asked for a simple confirmation, did you onboard Carter Health Systems this morning? The spokesperson gave her the same one-liner that had gone online. She expected that. She called the prior bank. The spokesperson there asked for time to check. She gave them 10 minutes and set a timer. Meanwhile, Jordan sent a short internal note to teams across Carter Health Systems, bank rails have moved to Evergreen. No changes needed to your daily process. If contacted by anyone about this matter, route to legal. Thank you. The message had his calm tone. People read it, nodded, and went back to their work. Patients and partners remain the focus. That was the point of all the planning. In the branch, the receptionist watched a small crowd of morning clients come and go. The lobby felt normal again. Only the air near the VIP lounge seemed heavier, as if it held a story inside it. Maya took a sip of water and looked at her time-stamped notes. She was glad she had written them. Not because she wanted anyone to get in trouble, but because people needed clear facts when emotions got loud. The regional director called Ethan back. We will reach out to Miss Carter's office, he said. I want you to prepare for an internal review. And Ethan, thank you for owning your report. That matters. Yes, sir, Ethan said. He meant it. At almost the same moment, a polite email left the bank's PR inbox, addressed to Nia's executive office. It read, we would appreciate a chance to speak today. We value your time and business and want to understand how we can take responsible next steps. It stopped short of an apology. It hoped to open a door. Nia was in a conference room with her team when the note arrived. She read it once. She did not feel angry. She felt steady. She forwarded it to Jordan and to legal with a short instruction, please reply with our conditions for any conversation. Clear, practical, and public. A draft came back within minutes. It was 3 points and 1 sentence, we are open to a conversation if the bank is ready to name the specific error in public, not as a misunderstanding but as a failure to follow stated service standards for a scheduled client. Commit to staff training and a simple process rule that anyone can follow, names before faces. Confirm before you assume. Establish a small business support fund administered with independent oversight to benefit entrepreneurs who often feel unseen. We are not seeking favors. We are seeking repair that helps many people, not just us. Nia read the draft and nodded. Send, she said. Layla's timer buzzed. The Prior Bank's spokesperson returned her call. The voice was polite, measured, and careful. We're looking into the matter, the spokesperson said. We value all clients and strive to offer excellent service. Leela wrote the sentence down exactly as delivered. She looked at the small clip again, at the Times, at the ticker, at the Evergreen Post. The story was not about shouting. It was about what 5 minutes can mean when systems are tied to values. At headquarters, the PR lead opened a new document and stared at the blinking cursor. She could write a soft statement in her sleep. Today she would have to write a clear one. She began, this morning, we failed to honor a scheduled appointment for a new executive client. We are sorry. We are taking the following steps. She stopped and looked up at the clock. She wondered if the bank would be brave enough to send it. Back at Nia's office, the reply with conditions left the outbox and slid into the bank's inbox. The subject line was simple, terms for a conversation. Inside the branch, the lobby TV kept its steady crawl. Outside, the city kept moving. Inside a dozen inboxes, words began to cross. The next move belonged to the bank. The video call started with quiet camera clicks and careful voices. In one square sat the regional director, straight-backed and steady. In another, the head of legal, eyes kind but exact. PR joined with a notebook open and 2 pens beside it. Risk appeared last, with the dashboard glowing in the reflection of his glasses. No one spoke for a moment. They were not waiting for drama, they were waiting for clarity. The director began with a simple sentence. He read from Ethan's report, line by line, as if he were reading a recipe where the measurements must be exact. 9 o'clock appointment confirmed. Client seated in VIP lounge. 9:10, client asked to wait in the lobby. 9:12, another client seated in VIP. 9:20, outflow event flagged. He stopped and looked up. We know what happened. Our question is, how do we take responsibility in a way that is direct, useful, and honest? Legal nodded. We should contact Miss Carter's office again, she said. Be specific. Name the error. Ask what would be meaningful repair. We will not promise anything until our board agrees, but we should show we are listening and not hiding. PR took a breath. I drafted a clear statement, she said. It is not soft. It is not a cloud of polite words. It is specific, and it is human. I will share it after we hear what Miss Carter's team requests. She glanced at the risk officer. What is the current picture? Risk slid a graph onto the screen. The red line was a clean dip. It did not twist. It simply stepped down. The outflow is done, he said. We have no reason to believe the funds will return. There is chatter online. Nothing loud. But people are watching. Understood, the director said. Invite the branch manager to join for 5 minutes. Ethan entered the call with quiet eyes. He did not try to defend himself. He said the same thing he wrote. He added only 8 words that mattered. I did not check the board first. He was told to step back from duties while an internal review ran its course. He accepted this, then added a small request, may I meet with the junior teller who documented the events? I want to thank her for keeping a clear record. The director said he could do that after HR spoke with her. On the other side of the city, Nia sat at a long table with Jordan, Leela from operations, and 2 colleagues from legal. The sunlight drew a clean line across the wood. There were no raised voices, no heavy sighs. There was a plan and a choice. Nia read the new email from the bank, they wished to speak again. She lifted her eyes. We will speak, she said. But our terms are the same. Repair must be clear and must help more than just us. Jordan slid the draft back across to her. It listed 3 points in simple words. A public apology that names the specific failure. Staff training paired with a short rule anyone can remember, names before faces. Confirm before you assume. A small business support fund with independent oversight, simple applications, and fair reporting. Nia added one line, we will not manage or select the beneficiaries. We only ask that the structure be real, transparent, and steady. She signed the bottom of the letter and handed it to Leela to send. At the branch, Maya sat in a small HR office with a glass wall that faced a quiet hallway. An HR partner asked her to share what she saw. Maya told the story in short facts. She did not add feelings. She read from her time-stamped notes. When she finished, the HR partner thanked her and asked if she had any suggestions that might help the branch do better. Maya looked down at her hands. I think it would help if our process had a bright sign everyone can see, she said softly. Something like names before faces. A rule that we are proud to follow. A rule that makes it easier to speak up. The HR partner wrote down the words exactly and drew a small box around them. Thank you, she said. This helps. Philip, the client who had been seated in the VIP area, found Nia's business email and wrote a note that afternoon. It was short, respectful, and free of excuses. He said he did not know the full context, but the morning scene made him uncomfortable once he understood it. He admired her steady response and wished her and her company well. He hoped both institutions would learn something useful. Nia replied with equal grace, thanking him for his message and for being honest. We are all learning, she wrote. The best lessons change behavior. In another quiet room, the bank's board met in a special session. The chair listened while the regional director presented the facts. The PR lead read her draft aloud. Legal outlined the conditions proposed by Nia's team. Risk showed a simple map of client confidence points of light where small withdrawals had followed the morning rumor. The lights were not a storm. They were a signal. The board did not debate the amount. They understood that trust has a shape that does not appear on a balance sheet until it is already moving. Our choice, the chair said, is between a statement and a standard. We may issue a statement today. But if we do not create a standard to hold, we will repeat this in another form, in another room, on another day. Heads nodded around the table. The chair turned to PR. If we accept their terms, can we go further in a way that is simple and measurable? PR lifted her notebook. Yes, she said. We can propose a plan that shows movement, not just words. Timeline, training, a small business fund with independent oversight, plus internal rules that do not rely on any one person's judgment. We can also include an external audit of how we treat arrivals and queues over the next year. We will publish the findings, good or bad. Legal agreed. If we do this, we must do it fully, she said. Half promises create their own kind of harm. The board voted to proceed. Unanimous. By late afternoon, the director called Nia's office. He spoke plainly. We accept your terms, he said. We will also add 3 commitments. First, an external audit on our first contact process, followed by published results. Second, a branch rule that the appointment board must be checked and acknowledged before any seating decision in VIP zones. Third, an internal scorecard anonymous at the person level but clear at the branch level so we can see and fix patterns. We will share this framework publicly. We hope you will review it and tell us if it is useful. Nia listened. She appreciated the tone, not defensive, not decorated, just clear. Thank you, she said. Please send your plan in writing. We will read it and respond. It is important that any statement is specific and free of soft phrases that hide responsibility. People can feel the difference. The written plan arrived within the hour. It began with simple ownership of the error. No careful phrases. No, if anyone felt. Just, this morning we failed to honor a scheduled appointment for a new executive client. We asked her to leave the VIP area and made room for another client who arrived later. This was wrong. We are sorry. The document then listed actions. There was a training sequence with real practice, not just slides. There was a 2-year fund for local small businesses, managed by a respected nonprofit with quarterly public reports. There was the rule Maya had named, now standing in bold type, names before faces. Confirm before you assume. There was a promise to check the board first, every time, with a simple digital acknowledgement, like a seatbelt click before driving. When Nia finished reading, she handed the pages to Jordan. They wrote it clean, she said. No spin. Jordan nodded. The structure is solid, he said. The oversight is real. It will help people. Even so, he added, we should be careful not to become the center of the story. We made a decision for our company. They are making decisions for their institution. Let the repair be about many, not about us. Leela from operations drafted a brief reply. We appreciate the clarity, it read. We will not re-enter a banking relationship at this time. We believe your commitments can help many people if you carry them out with care. We will watch the public reports like everyone else. At the branch, HR asked Maya if she would like to help design a short handout for staff about the new rule. She said yes, with a quiet smile. She sat at a small desk with blank paper and wrote a sentence at the top in neat letters, names before faces. Underneath, she added 3 boxes, check the appointment board. Greet by name. Confirm the plan. She sketched a tiny calendar icon, a speech bubble, and a check mark. She kept it friendly and clear. When she was done, she showed it to HR, who loved the simplicity. Ethan asked if he could speak with Maya for a minute. HR agreed. He thanked her for her notes and for her calm voice when facts mattered. I am sorry for the situation I created, he said. He did not ask for forgiveness. He promised to learn. He told her that her small sentence might become a big sign one day. She thanked him and wished him well. People can grow, she believed, if they are willing to look at what they chose and try again. That evening, the PR lead sharpened the final public statement. She read it aloud one more time, listening for any softening words that might sneak in and blur meaning. She cut 3 phrases. She kept the opening plain and the steps measurable. She added a sentence about the small business fund that made it easy to apply and easy to understand. She reminded readers that the fund would not be managed by the bank. Trust is earned in the open, she wrote. Across town, Nia finished her day with a quiet walk around the block. She passed a small bookstore, a cafe, and a shop where a young entrepreneur was arranging handmade products in the window. She imagined what a fair fund could do for someone like that: lower rent pressure, a new piece of equipment, a chance to hire one more pair of hands. She did not need to be thanked. She did not need to be named. She wanted the process to work for people who did not have executives and dashboards behind them. Before bed, she sent Jordan one last note: thank you for building policy around our values. It made today simple. Jordan replied with his usual calm: the credit is shared. Systems carry our promises. Night settled over the city. Screens dimmed. Offices emptied. In inboxes, the bank's draft waited for morning sunlight. In a dozen homes, small business owners who did not yet know any of this would soon read about a new fund that asked short questions and gave clear answers. In a training binder, a page with 4 words at the top sat ready to be printed and pinned to walls that had only held art before. And somewhere between a promise and a plan, a quiet question hovered in the air: would this become real change, or just words written neatly on a page? Morning light filled the city like calm water. It was the day the bank planned to speak in public. The statement had been written, checked, and approved. It did not hide behind soft words. It did not stretch into a cloud. It was short, clear, and human. At 8 o'clock, the message went live on the bank's website and social pages. It also went to local newsrooms and to the inbox of every employee. This morning we failed to honor a scheduled appointment for a new executive client. We asked her to leave the VIP area and made room for another client who arrived later. This was wrong. We are sorry. Here is what we will do. Underneath, the plan sat in simple lines. The bank would run real training with practice, not slides. It would publish the results of an external audit on how clients are greeted and seated. It would create a small business fund, run by an independent nonprofit, with reports every quarter. It would add a rule to every branch: names before faces. Confirm before you assume. It would add a simple check the board first click inside the system, the way a seat belt clicks before a car moves. Employees read the message at their desks. Some felt the sting of the words. Some felt relief that the truth was not wrapped in careful phrases. Maya read it twice and placed her hand over her notebook. She liked the rule written in big letters. She liked that the fund would not be controlled by the bank. She liked that people outside would check the audit and tell the truth if things slipped. In small shops around the city, owners scrolled on their phones between customers. A grocer smiled and shook his head. A tailor laughed once and said, "About time." A young baker, who dreamed of buying a display fridge to keep cakes safe, read the part about the fund and whispered, "Maybe this is for us." At Carter Health Systems, the morning moved like any other. Vendor payments went out on time through Evergreen. Escrow accounts balanced. Clinics received remittance data without delay. Patients did not notice anything at all, which meant the system was working as it should. Jordan checked the dashboards, then closed his laptop with quiet satisfaction. His team returned to the work they loved, making the slow tasks of healthcare feel simple for busy people. Nia saw the bank statement on her screen while she stood by a window with a cup of tea. She read the first line, then the steps, then the timeline. She looked for soft phrases and saw none. She noticed the name of the nonprofit that would manage the small business fund. It was a group she trusted. She nodded once and sent a short note to her team. They said it clearly. "We can step back now and let the work speak." The first changes inside the bank were not loud. They were visible. On each branch's welcome desk, a small sign appeared in friendly type: "Names before faces. Confirm before you assume." Below it sat 3 easy steps with tiny icons: check the appointment board, greet by name, confirm the plan. In staff rooms, the same poster hung above the coffee machine, where people could see it every day without being told to look. Training began the same week. It used real scenes, not made-up ones. A coach asked employees to practice greeting a client whose clothes suggested one story while the schedule suggested another. People took turns being the client and being the staff member. They learned to look at the board first, say the name first, and follow the order without letting habit drive the choice. Maya helped lead the second session at her branch. Her voice was steady, and her examples were short and helpful. She did not point to anyone from that morning. She pointed to the rule. Ethan sat in the training room in the front row. He did not speak much. He took notes. When the coach asked for an example of a hard moment, he raised his hand and told a plain story: a day when he did not check the board and a 5-minute choice cost the bank $50 million and a measure of trust. The room was quiet when he finished. He did not add a lesson. He let the facts speak. Later, HR assigned him to a new role for a season: support for branch operations, with a focus on building habits around the new rule. He accepted the change with humility. He knew growth was not a sentence. It was a road. The Small Business Fund opened its website with 5 questions on the first page. It asked for the name of the business, what it sells or makes, what a small grant would be used for, and how the result would be measured in plain language. There were no long essays. There were no trick boxes. The nonprofit partner held a short online session to explain how selection would work and when reports would be shared. Applications came in from every part of the city: a mechanic who needed a lift, a cafe that wanted to add a wheelchair ramp, a seamstress who dreamed of hiring a helper, a local delivery service that could reach more customers with one e-bike. One of the first businesses chosen was the young baker who needed a display fridge. She ran a tiny shop near a school. Her cakes were beautiful, but heat was a problem at midday. The fund paid for a simple, strong fridge with sliding glass doors. A month later, her cakes held their shape in the afternoon sun. Students pointed and smiled at rows of bright slices. Her sales rose. She hired a part-time helper, a neighbor who needed hours in the afternoon. The nonprofit posted a short report with a photo, a line of numbers, and one sentence from the baker: cold glass, steady shelves, and fewer worries, thank you. Leila Ahmed, the reporter, watched the first month unfold. She wrote a balanced article with a simple title: 5 minutes, 50 million, and the cost of assumptions. She told the story in clear lines: what happened, how the funds moved, what the bank promised, and how the first grants were used. She included a note from a community advocate who said the apology felt like a person speaking, not a company. She also included a reminder that promises need time and patience to hold. At the end, she quoted 4 words from a poster: names before faces. It made readers pause and think. Days became weeks. The external audit started its quiet work. Observers visited branches unannounced. They noted how people were greeted. They noted whether the appointment board was checked. They noted if the seatbelt click step was done before a VIP seat was assigned. They published a monthly summary with small charts and a plain paragraph. Some branches did well. Some needed extra sessions. The report did not shame. It showed where to improve. It made the work public, which made the work real. Inside Nia's company, the story already felt like something that had happened a long time ago. That was by design. Systems existed to carry values when attention moved on. Nia spent more time with her product team, talking about upcoming features. She visited a clinic where nurses used the company's tools to manage daily tasks with less stress. She smiled at a whiteboard full of sticky notes and said, "This is the work I love." After hours, she shared coffee with 2 young founders at a small meetup for entrepreneurs. They asked how to protect their time and their dignity when dealing with big partners. Nia gave simple advice. Write your values into your process, she said. Make them steps, not slogans. Then, if someone does not meet the standard, the next step is already written. You will not need to decide in anger. You will just follow your plan. Jordan kept improving the Treasury playbook. He added a short checklist at the top with 3 lines in bold: service standard, confirmation path, and backup rails. He wrote a tiny note beside it: dignity is a control. He shared the updated playbook with finance leaders in a peer group. A few of them asked for a copy. He gave it freely. Good process grows when people share it. One afternoon, Maya stood at the front desk and saw a man enter the branch wearing a dusty construction jacket. Behind him walked a sleek client in a bright suit. The receptionist looked down at the board. The dusty jacket belonged to a client with a 9 o'clock appointment. The bright suit was a walk-in. The receptionist smiled at the man in the jacket, said his name first, and guided him to the VIP area with care. She then greeted the walk-in kindly and explained there would be a short wait. The suited client nodded and took a seat without fuss. Maya felt a small lift in her chest. She did not say, "See." She did not need to. The rule had done its work, and people had followed it without drama. A week later, Ethan returned to the branch to shadow a morning shift. He stood near the desk, hands folded, eyes open. He watched the receptionist click the checkboard step before seating a client. He noticed how small the step was and how big the effect felt. On his way out, he thanked the team and paused at the poster. He traced the 4 words with his eyes, names before faces. He knew those words might follow him for the rest of his career. He hoped they would. The first quarterly report from the Small Business Fund landed online with clean formatting and short paragraphs. It listed every grant by initials and street, the amount, the purpose, and a photo when allowed. It included the baker's fridge, the cafe's ramp, the mechanic's lift, and the delivery e-bike. It also listed 5 applications that had been sent back with suggestions to become stronger, along with notes on how those owners could try again. It felt honest. It felt like something built to last. Leela read the report and added a small update under her article. "Promises are moving," she wrote. "We will keep watching." People thanked her in the comments. A few said they had not expected to see this kind of follow-through. She answered one of them with a simple line, "Clarity helps." On a mild morning, Nia walked past the bank on her way to a meeting across the street. The glass doors opened and closed as clients came and went. She stopped for a second and looked inside. She saw the poster by the desk. She watched a staff member glance at the board, speak a name, and smile. She did not feel triumph. She felt peace. She had already chosen her path, and it had held. The world does not always change because of one person or one day. But small habits, repeated, can change how a room feels, how a business acts, and how a city learns to trust. She crossed the street and entered her building. In the elevator, she thought of the phrase she had spoken to herself on that first morning, "Respect is not optional." It still rang true, but now it had a sister line she loved just as much: "Respect is a system. It lives in calendars and checkboxes and tiny clicks that say, 'I see you,' before anything else is decided." By noon, the city was bright and busy again. People ran errands, signed papers, and laughed on sidewalks. Inside a small bakery, a cold glass case held neat rows of cake slices, safe from the heat. A group of school children pressed their faces to the glass and pointed. The baker wiped her hands, lifted the lid, and served them with a grin. Across town, a client in a jacket with dust on the sleeves heard his name first and felt the soft surprise of being seen. And in a quiet office above the street, a CEO reviewed her team's roadmap and smiled, the morning sun sketching a thin line of gold across her desk. There was no headline in that moment. No breaking news. Just the steady hum of systems doing what they were designed to do, carry values forward, one simple step at a time.